Well, it's finally the 8th. I know the past couple of days I kept saying, oh, well, it's the 8th. But I got mixed up on the dates. Um, Today, I want to discuss hyperglycemia. Yesterday, we talked about hypoglycemia. But today, before I get going on the whole videos, I want to get over some of the more common things, and then I'll get into discussing my day to day life as a diabetic. But we're we talked yesterday about hypoglycemia and how quickly that could become an emergency. But I also mentioned that if you come across someone in a hypoglycemic state and if you're not sure if it's a high blood sugar or low blood sugar emergency, give them sugar, because in the short term, it's not going to be an emergency. You can deal with a high blood sugar better than you can a low blood sugar. Now, if you are always going to be high, that is a serious injury. People who research diabetes and everything found that people who are constantly high or higher than the normal blood sugar develop complications. And people who are constantly high, yes, can develop brittle diabetes. But I was sort of brittle all along. And I know my dad used to say, well, if you stop eating cheeseburgers and you were cheating all the time. And, yes, as a teenager, I did my fair share of cheating. Sorry, I keep wanting to make sure there's not people coming along. But hypoglycemia just means there's too much sugar in the blood. And every diabetic is diagnosed when they're hyperglycemic. So, if you're constantly high, you're going to run into problems. So, one way you can curb for a type 1 diabetic hyperglycemia is with insulin. If you're constantly high, well, you and your doctor, or if your doctor's taught you how to, can give more insulin. But then you can always, if you don't do it right, you can always run into the problems of being low. Now, if you can develop complications, and that can be neuropathy, that can be, which I have. You can also develop vision problems, heart problems. It's numerous. So you've really got to take care of your body and try to achieve the normal blood sugars. And there's people who say, well, I could never do that, so I might as well run high. You don't want to do that. I've run high in my life. I've run low. I've done this as a type 1 brittle diabetic. So you just don't really want to achieve the high side. You want to do whatever you can. You can get out, do exercises. I'm sorry, the bugs are out early this morning. But type 1 diabetics are the easiest one to go high. If you're high as a type 1 diabetic, you will be high, like astronomically high. Type 2 diabetics, because they keep producing insulin, don't go as high. But a type 1 diabetic, we don't produce any insulin. So the simple thing is hypo means low, and that's an emergency. Too much sugar in the blood is also an emergency. So any new type 1 diabetics out there, you have to make sure you don't run high all the time and you don't run low. You can live a long life, but you have to take care of your diabetes. You have to take care of your diabetes so your diabetes doesn't take care of you. And, young people, they want to take into drinking and partying, and you could easily end up into the emergency ward, and it's just not fun. And so many teenage diabetics and show up in emergency wards, and I don't know how I got there when they knew how they got there. So, you know, the worst thing about a lot of teenage women, and it's not a worst thing about them, but they all want to, I want to look so thin. And there are a few teenage women, especially who are diabetic, who have found, if they're a little bloated or whatever, they'll just stop taking their insulin and they'll lose the weight, and they'll look just wonderful. But if you do that, you're just going to get sick. You're not going to look as great as you think. You're going to look gaunt. You're going to look like you're just starving yourself. It's basically, that's what you're doing. Your body can't metabolize sugar, so you're just going to go high. So if there's any young teenage girls who are watching this, don't get into that practice. If anything, stay away from doing that. Yeah, it could be a quick fix, but you're going to pay. And I know people warned me, about the complications, and I said, yeah, that's not going to happen to me. Well, it does happen. And I have retinopathy, I have neuropathy, and a lot of it was caused by having a high blood sugar. And it wasn't because I wasn't trying to take care of myself. I tried to take care of myself. I was going high, so I gave more insulin, and then I started going low. And for a new diabetic, stick to your regime. Learn all you can about the disease. Don't let the disease take care of you. Now, new diabetics, people will tell you all sorts of tricks. But stick with what you know. And what you should be knowing is what the doctor has told you, what your diabetic care society has told you. Keep to your blood sugar plan. Keep with your insulin plan. Yeah, you can't have cakes and sweets and everything all the time. But, if you want a piece of cake, well, they say now we can have it, but we have to account for it. And we can't do it all the time. If you do it, take the right amount of insulin, go for a run, do exercise, but take care of your body. Yes, it's unfair you have the disease. It was unfair I had the disease, but it doesn't have to cripple you, so don't let it. Anyway, guys, have a super day, and we'll be back tomorrow. Bye now.